August 5th, 2026. We'll give it a few minutes for people to join, like always, and we'll get started. Alrighty. We have a lot of gun news to go over today, so I'll give it another minute or two for people to join. Tricks, how you doing there, brother? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. I'll give it a minute or so, see if Duke joins, because I'm pretty sure he's going to want to hear the gun news about New Jersey. We got some good gun news and some bad gun news. All right, well, we'll start with some of the gun news. I'll save the best ones for last. Hopefully by then, Mike and Duke will be on. So Idaho became the first state in the United States to make the firing squad the primary method of execution, and it uses volunteer and law enforcement marksmen. Yeah, I agree, Trix. That's the whole reason we need to fight for national reciprocity. There's some states like New Jersey, they don't honor anybody's permit. When we used to live in New Jersey, I had to get a New Hampshire non-resident permit in order to carry in Pennsylvania, because in order to get a non-resident permit in Pennsylvania, you had to submit a copy of your carry permit in your home state. And at that time, New Jersey was not issuing carry permits. So this is why we need to fight, Tricks. We need to get that national reciprocity. Supreme Court needs to hear that. Some more gun news. Now, this one is really stupid. Ozzy Osbourne, I haven't seen him on yet, but if you live in the state of Illinois, besides all of their other stupid gun laws they have, now in Illinois, if you open your home as a foster care or a daycare, the state can strip you of the right to own a firearm. It is considered sensitive places, so gun rights are not included. So what does that mean? In Illinois right now, if you run a foster care or a daycare out of your home, you are not allowed to own a functioning firearm. So you're required to unload it, disassemble it, and lock it in the safe. That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of. You're running daycare out of your home. You have all these children in your home, and they force you to keep a disassembled firearm so that you can't protect those kids. Now, I could see the law saying that you need to have a gun locked in the safe and it can't be anywhere near the kids. I'll go along with that. But to say that you have to unload and disassemble your firearm, that's just ridiculous. AG, welcome. Thank you for joining. We're going over gun news right now, AG, and I just went over the stupid thing Illinois just signed. Is that if you open your home as a foster care or daycare, the state can strip you of your right to own a firearm. They consider it sensitive places, so gun rights are not included. They force you to unload your firearm, disassemble it, lock it up in a safe. It's just ridiculous. You have kids that you can't protect. Like I said, I could see requiring you to have a firearm locked in a safe, nowhere near the kids, but to have a disassembled gun, and you have all those kids that you can't protect, that's just ridiculous. Maryland, Montgomery County prohibits carrying a firearm in a place of worship, restricting firearms within 100 feet of a place of worship or public gatherings. There's a group of rabbis that are now suing Montgomery County, claiming that it's a violation of their Second Amendment rights. This government overreach, it's got to stop. Just when we think we're making some progress, we go one step forward, two steps back. Fortunately, we live in the great state of Tennessee. We don't have any gun restrictions here. But some of these people that live in these liberal states, good Lord. All right, this one is New York. So in Westchester County, New York, a deputy police commissioner was arrested for driving the getaway car for her son involved in a gangland shooting in the Bronx. A deputy police commissioner. So apparently she drove her son to the Bronx. He committed a gangland shooting, jumped in the back of her car, and she took off. And they caught her and they arrested her. And these are people that are supposed to be protecting us. And this is why we have to protect ourselves. We can't trust them. I'm still waiting for Duke because I'm going to save the New Jersey one for last. Another one in Colorado, they're getting out of control too. In Colorado, the requirement to buy a semi-automatic firearm, and that is a rifle or a pistol, now requires a 5-year eligibility card and a 12-hour firearm safety course. Now, fortunately, there is a sheriff in Montezuma County that blatantly said, I'm not enforcing this law. It's unconstitutional. And as a sheriff and elected official, I have the obligation to uphold the Constitution. So kudos to him. I want to talk a few minutes about the shooting at the In-N-Out in Twin Falls, Idaho. I'm sure by now everyone has seen this. And yes, there was an off-duty police officer inside that engaged with the shooter and did keep the shooter from entering the store. So he fired at him and he missed. He did take one in the arm, my understanding. But the real hero here is the civilian. And the liberal news stations, they're not mentioning that. And he deserves credit because this man is a hero. So we're going to give him credit. And his name was Jordan Salinas. Now, this guy is a good guy with a gun. And we need more people like this. He's not a cop. He doesn't get paid for this. He chose to engage with a mass shooter. The guy's got a lot of balls. And let me tell you, this is a civilian that chose to do that. You remember the Uvalde school shooting. There were police officers that didn't even want to engage. Now, this guy Jordan was on a date with his girlfriend. They were going to go horseback riding. And they decided to get something to eat. And when they pulled into the parking lot at In-N-Out, he saw the commotion. And this guy could have stayed in his car like some of the other people and used his cell phone to record it. He chose to exit his vehicle and engage with the shooter, and he fired at him. He missed also, but he did stop the shooter and forced him to start running. So both of those guys are heroes. It shows you that all heroes don't wear capes. Now, fortunately, nobody was struck by a stray bullet because they both shot at him and missed, so the bullets went somewhere. But it just shows you that when there's a mass shooting, an armed civilian is the first responder. Sometimes cops are not going to get there for 15, 20 minutes. The armed civilian, they're already there. This guy made a huge difference. And like I said, all heroes don't wear capes. This guy should get free food forever. I mean, instead of recording it on his phone, he chose to get out of his vehicle and approach the guy. I give him all the credit in the world. The guy is a caregiver by occupation, and he cares for his disabled brother. Now, if this guy would have gotten shot and killed, who would have taken care of his brother? The guy did not care about what could happen to him. He was carrying an FN-57, and FN has gotten a lot of publicity out of this because, I find it ironic. The guy had a FN-57, which is a huge gun, with a suppressor in a shoulder holster. If this guy would have recorded a training video a week or two before this shooting, everybody would have laughed at him. But again, kudos to Jordan Salinas. You are a hero. God knows how many other people may have gotten killed if you didn't choose to do that. If you're going to carry a firearm, you really need to make sure you train. And this is an issue that always comes up. In some states, like Idaho, that have a stand your ground law where you are allowed to use deadly force anywhere you have the legal right to be, as long as you're not in the commission of a crime. And just like here in Tennessee, you are allowed to use deadly force on behalf of a third party. But sometimes you're just better off being a good witness. You could train at the range all you want. There's still things that can go wrong. you know, it could be a perfectly legitimate shooting that he was taking out um, a mass shooter and he missed and struck a civilian. It wouldn't be a hero anymore. He would be in jail. Um, I mean, nobody knows how they're going to react under the circumstances, but my feeling, just because of the legalities and liability, unless the shooter was pointing his gun at myself or my family, I'm not so sure I'd go running after him. Hey, Brookside. That's just my opinion. I'd like to know what y'all guys think. But, you know, like I said, you can train all you want. Um, when you have adrenaline flowing like that, um, you have a split second to make a decision. I mean, even law enforcement, that's what they do for a living. They make mistakes. A lot of responsibility comes with um, carrying a firearm. You exit a vehicle carrying a firearm. And this, by the way, this is why witnesses at first thought there were three shooters, because you had the shooter, then you had the armed civilian, and then you had the off-duty state trooper that shot at him. So it's understandable how they thought there were three shooters involved. But I'm just curious what you guys think about civilians getting involved, um, unless their own life or their family's life was in danger, purely for the legal and liability issues. But regardless, the guy is still a hero. Um, I remember the cop that shot a. Actually, I think he shot a person because an acorn dropped. I understand, John. I live in Tennessee. We have a stand your ground law as well, and so does Idaho. But my point is that, if you're a civilian and you don't really have the training that law enforcement has, I'm just not so sure it's always a good idea. Um, and the other thing is there's a lot of responsibility that comes with carrying a firearm. If you draw your firearm and you go out and you engage, everybody now sees that you have a gun and they're all going to expect you to be the hero. And that's a lot of pressure. But if you look at, how long it may take for police to respond, and the other thing is that maybe this will start sending a message to these lunatics, because armed civilians are a bigger threat than law enforcement. When the cops show up, they know the cops are there. They see the cops exiting the vehicles with their guns. But when you have armed civilians in the crowd, you don't know who's got a gun. I mean, maybe this will make them think twice about doing stupid shit like that. Well, I was going to wait for Duke. I haven't seen him, but now we'll have to get on to the New Jersey gun law, which I was saving for him, and I follow New Jersey gun law because we used to live there. In the state of New Jersey, that's a good point too, Trix. Like I said, the The witnesses thought there were 3 shooters. They didn't know that the off-duty trooper and Jordan Salinas, who exited his vehicle, they didn't know who they were. So if there's any other people from New Jersey out here, Duke is from there. Assault weapon and magazine restrictions have been going on in New Jersey for 34 years now, going back and forth and back and forth. 2 weeks ago, the Third Circuit agreed that an assault weapon ban and magazine restrictions are unconstitutional. I told everybody I know in New Jersey, don't get too excited about it because you know how corrupt they are, and they're going to do everything they can to squash it. Everybody was ready to go run out and buy high-capacity magazines and AR-15s. And the ironic thing is that the judge that wrote this, she was a Biden appointee. I give the woman credit for being a judge and not letting politics interfere. However, on July 31st, because they did have till the 31st, New Jersey asked the Third Circuit Court to give them a stay until a case is heard in October. And in October, the Supreme Court is going to be ruling on assault weapon bans and high-capacity magazines, and that'll take care of the entire country. So New Jersey asked for a stay until that court date, and the stay was granted. I don't understand that. The Third Circuit just voted that it was unconstitutional, and here we go again. It's a typical New Jersey. They're going to drag it out, and they're going to drag it out. So October, the Supreme Court is supposed to hear the case, and they're not supposed to make a decision on it until June. So now you got people getting all excited about standard issue magazines again in New Jersey and the end of the assault weapon ban. And now they're right back in the same boat they've been in for 34 frickin' years. Believe me, we've lived in New Jersey for over 50 years. I lived through that magazine restriction and AR ban for 34 years. And now they're going to make it 35 years. And this is why we need the Supreme Court to rule on this stuff. Having these states come out with their own stupid shit. Not only the states, in counties. Like I said, in Maryland, Montgomery County prohibits carrying a firearm in a place of worship. So you can't carry a firearm within 100 feet of a place of worship or a public gathering. That's just one county. So now you have states making up their own rules. You got counties making up their own rules. You got cities making up their own rules. This has got to be flat across the board, right? From Maine to California. It's got to be. And the Supreme Court has got to start ruling on this stuff. Saturday, I did pick up, I was talking about getting the Ruger 1022 250th anniversary. And I wasn't really looking for it, but I saw the one that had the beautiful engraving. And I bought that. And I did a review on it. I'll probably release the review this weekend. Well, you know, it's funny, Tricks. When we lived in New Jersey, had a friend of ours that moved to Pennsylvania probably 15 years ago, and was bragging to us about how great Pennsylvania is. Um, it's not such a gun-friendly state anymore, not like it used to. And this is like I say all the time, one election could change everything. I mean, here in Tennessee, we've been a red state for a long, long time. But one election could change all of that. I mean, look what happened in Virginia, right? They voted that communist in, and now she's going after everybody's guns. I remember, you know, in New Jersey, it's such a pain in the ass to even buy ammunition. You need a firearms ID card and all of this nonsense just to buy ammo. It's even worse now. Um, but back then, the PA border was only about an hour away. Um, and we went over the border and we went to Cabela's, and I bought a shopping cart full of ammo at the Cabela's in Pennsylvania. Um, no ID, nothing. So that changed. And yeah, Tricks, I remember when I lived in New Jersey and we had New Hampshire carry permits because um, Pennsylvania would allow us to carry with a New Hampshire carry permit. Um, that's another messed up thing. So you have a valid carry permit in Pennsylvania, but you can't carry in Pittsburgh or Philly. And again, this is another thing where you got now counties making up their own stuff. Congrats on that, Chris. You're going to love that Glock 30. Hey, Johnny, welcome. Thanks for joining. I agree with your comments 100%. You know, the Democrats are anti gun, except for when they're shooting at our president. Yep, I'll tell you, Chris, you are going to love that. Um, I have the 30 SF. One thing I will recommend, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do it and search my videos. I bought the Pierce grip extension for the magazine for the Glock 30 because I found it really annoying, and you probably will too, that you're going to get that floating pinky thing, right? And then sometimes, you know, you get the pinch between the end of the magazine, pinching the bottom of your pinky. I think I got a 2-pack of those Pierce grip extensions for $10 on Amazon. All right, Sultan, your mommy's calling you. Time to go back in your mommy's basement. Bye. Yeah, and what about Pittsburgh there, Tricks? Yeah, seriously, Chris. Um, I would definitely order them. I did the video on them, and by the way, it only extends the base of the mag. It doesn't give you another round. It's not an actual magazine extension. It's only a grip extension. But trust me, you will fall in love with that because that floating pinky is really annoying, especially the first 2 or 3 times you get your pinky pinched down there. Trust me, it's like the best $12 you could ever buy. Um, Go look on Amazon. They're from Pierce. I don't know. All I know, Tricks, is when I used to live in New Jersey and go to Pennsylvania, you couldn't, at that time, you couldn't carry it all in Pittsburgh or Philly. And again, this is why the Supreme Court has to rule. So now you got two cities making up their own laws. You got states making up their own laws. You got counties making up your own laws. The Supreme Court has got to put their foot down and say, enough. That's enough when it comes to, trying to neuter the Constitution. But anyway, I digressed. So, yes, I bought that Ruger 250th anniversary. The engraving on that stock is just absolutely gorgeous. The stock was made by Altamont. No, John, I do not have any problems with that. Like I said, I have some problems on my Glock 29 and Glock 30. Um, I do have that floating pinky thing, and that's why I got the extended mag. Um, I put them on my Glock 19 as well, but I typically don't have any problems firing. Well, federal's supposed to supersede state, but it doesn't. If that was the case, would be able to do a lot of things. Trust me. Um, you don't want to test the law in a liberal state because they're going to arrest you. You probably go to jail. You're going to have to spend money on a lawyer to get something thrown out that should have never gone to court anyway. This is what they do. They try to wear you down and make you just give up. I mean, that's what they're doing. Look at like I said, what they're doing in New Jersey. They just keep back and forth. I mean, the Supreme Court should put their foot down and say, that's it. How many times can you appeal it? This has been going on for 34 years. How many appeals can you have? But we all know how corrupt New Jersey is. Their Governor Mickey first said that there were 6,000 illegals that registered to vote, right? Then it comes out that they had 75,000 illegals got called to jury duty. Now they're estimating, hundreds of thousands of illegals that voted. And what'd she do? She throws her former governor Murphy under the bus, and she blames the software company that wrote the software for the voting machines because she won't take responsibility. And that's why she's so opposed to ICE, and she encouraged them to fight at the detention center in Newark because those illegals are all her constituents. Yeah, that's the problem, Tricks. You have to know your gun laws before you go to any state. I would never want to go to New Jersey with a gun. Well, if you remember that, Tricks, Oz, I got something for you I mentioned earlier, but I'll do it again. Um, yeah, I remember tricks when Jack Citarelli ran against Governor Murphy. On Tuesday, they said that Jack Citarelli was the winner. Friday, they said, no, no, you lost because of the mail in votes. Now, look at this nonsense. They were saying that Mickey won by something like 400,000 votes. What a bunch of bullshit. The problem is, we already know how corrupt New Jersey is. We've always known it. Governor Murphy allowed prisoners to vote, people in jail to vote. Mickey's doing the same thing. Everybody knows that the system is corrupt in New Jersey, but nobody's going to do anything about it. That's a good question, John. I use all of them. I carry inside the waistband, outside the waistband, and when I do carry inside the waistband, I do prefer appendix. Um, depending on depending on my activity for the day, um, normally because I live in the great state of Tennessee, I normally open carry. I'm just more comfortable. Oh, Ozzy. So I mentioned this one earlier, being that you're from Illinois. Get this. So your governor, Fred Flintstone over there, they signed a bill now. In Illinois, if you open your home as a foster care or a daycare, the state can strip you of your right to own a firearm. So what they're basically saying is that if you run foster care or daycare out of your home in Illinois, you have to unload your firearm, disassemble it, and lock it in the safe that's nowhere near the kids. Now, I could understand saying you have to have a firearm in a safe that's nowhere near the children. But to have a disassembled firearm, so you're going to have a gun that's incapable of firing, and yet you can't protect those kids? Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. I want to thank all you guys because couldn't have did it without you guys. We finally reached 2 million views the other day, and that wouldn't be possible without all you guys. The channel has grown exponentially this year, and it's all because of you, and I thank each and every one of you. For those of you that are new to this stream, some new people on today, we do this live stream every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. And it's basically just a discussion about firearms, Second Amendment products, question and answers. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel. Watch some of the videos. I have almost 1,000 videos out there. I've reviewed a lot of firearms and products. I have some more stuff I just got. I will be giving away magnetic gun mounts. I got 3 of them sent to me to review. But anyway, thank you, Steve. That was a huge accomplishment for us. I mean, we're still small, but we're not as tiny as we were a year ago. I think I do have a goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And we could do that with your help. If every one of you guys shared our channel to one of your friends that's a gun enthusiast, we could easily do that. And you're quite welcome, John. Um, I love the interaction with you guys. I love firearms. I've been involved with firearms for over 50 years. I mean, I could talk guns all day long. Um, you know, some things I like, some things I don't. I try to be pretty biased. Um, I am opinionated, but um, actually, I should say unbiased. Um, I tell you the way it is. If I review a product that I think is a piece of crap, I'll tell you. Um, I buy all the products I review out of my own money, so um, I have no obligation uh, whatsoever to uh, lie about a product. And, we don't all have every gun out there, right? So, don't be afraid to ask a question. Um, this is a fantastic group of people we have on these streams. There's no flaming, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Um, Everybody doesn't know everything. Trust me, I didn't wake up one day knowing what I know. It took me uh, many, many decades to learn what I learned. And, if I could help somebody, I'm more than willing to do it. Maybe stopping somebody from making a mistake and buying something that's a piece of crap, or recommending something that they never thought of before. But anyway, the thanks goes out to you guys. I do this for you guys because you guys requested the live stream. Awesome, Chris. Trust me, you're going to thank me for this. The second you put those on the second you replace the base plates with the extended mag base plate, you're going to thank me. The gun will feel a hell of a lot better. I remember I got my pinky pinched a few times and wasn't fun. So that's all I have on the gun news, fortunately. I mean, it's almost like every week things just keep going back and forth. We um, take one step forward, one step back. The um, Supreme Court is supposed to be ruling on, because the, they're trying to say that magazines are accessories and are not included under the Second Amendment. But I believe the Supreme Court ruled that magazines are covered under the Second Amendment because they're not accessories. You can't fire the gun without them. This is the problem. The liberal lawmakers, they're going to just keep making up stuff, tying things up in court. Like I said, in New Jersey, when the Third Circuit Court ruled that the assault rifle ban and magazine restrictions were unconstitutional, I told everybody that I know there, don't get too excited, because in New Jersey, it's never over. 2 weeks later, they asked the Third Circuit Court to grant them a stay until the October Supreme Court case, and it was granted. Now, here we go again, 34 years going back and forth, and now we won't get a ruling probably until June 2027. That's a great question, Trix. If money was no object, I would go for Wilson Combat hands down. Um, in my opinion, I think the Wilson Combat is the best. Um, 1911 out there. Not that there's anything wrong with a Nighthawk. I just think the Wilson is better. But you can't go wrong with either, Chris. But like I said, if I had to pick one, I would go with the Wilson. I mean, everything Wilson Combat makes is fantastic. Um, I run Wilson Combat magazines in every one of my 1911s. And those Wilson Combat 1911 magazines, they work better than the OEM mags that come with the gun. When I had trouble with my Kimber misfiring or misfeeding, I swapped out that Kimber mag with a Wilson Combat. Problem went away. So my Kimbers, my Colts, my Rugers, even on my new Delta Elite, I bought Wilson Combat magazines. Well, Chris, Wilson 45. I mean, hence Pro Gun 45. You all know from watching my channel that I'm not really a big fan of 9mm. To me, a 1911 is supposed to be 45 ACP or a 10mm. A 9mm 1911 to me is sacrilegious. That's just me. I'm old school. But I would take a 45 over a 9 any day. However, I have to admit, my new Colt Delta Elite 10mm, I carry that a lot now. You know what, Trix? You don't need a 9mm to conceal. Matter of fact, my 1911 full-size government, my 1911 conceals better than my 9mm. The reason is because the 1911 has got a thin single stack mag, so the grip is much thinner. Contrary to popular belief, when your firearm is printing, it doesn't print because of the size of the barrel. It's the grip that prints. And my Glock 19 prints a hell of a lot more than my 45. So, and if you're worried about capacity, I normally carry a 1911 every day, whether it's 45 or 10mm. Carry an extra mag. Well, you know what, Trix? That's the great thing about guns. There is one for everyone. I am a little opinionated sometimes, like Duke could tell you, don't get me started on the 40 caliber rant. But that's the great thing about guns is there's something for everybody. There is no one size fits all. There is no great magic caliber. The best gun there is the one that you trained with. If you can't shoot, doesn't matter what caliber it is. uh, of course you do, Trix. And I'll tell you why. The 1911 has got the best single action trigger out of the box out of any gun. And the nice thing about the 1911, doesn't matter whether it's a Colt or a Ruger or a Kimber, the trigger is the best there is. Even a bad 1911 trigger is better than a striker fire. I'm gonna just let the XD40 go, Chris. And I think also the reason the trigger's better on the 1911, besides that it's hammer fire, is that it's like a pinball machine. It goes straight forward and backward. There's very little, if any, take up on it, and a very, very short reset. It's just the best trigger in the world as far as I'm concerned. Um, I shot a lot of guns, and out of the box, I don't think there's a trigger out there. I I would, Chris. I mean, it's ironic because 40 caliber and piece of shit in the same sentence makes me makes me laugh. Oh, God, I know Duke sets me up all the time on that 40 caliber war. Yeah, I said that is really the only caliber that I hate and I think is stupid. I mean, I'm not a fan of the 9 millimeter, but um, it has evolved uh, a lot, and it's a very capable round. Um, but 40 caliber, in my opinion, is just stupid. And it's as far as I'm concerned, it's the only stupid caliber there is. Exactly, Chris. This is why I tell everybody why and I know a lot of people get butt hurt when and I do. I really rip the 40 to shreds, but it's stupid. Um, you know, you can shoot 40 caliber out of a 10 millimeter. And why would you take a perfectly good 10 millimeter cartridge and neuter it and come up with a 40 caliber, which is really a 9 millimeter on steroids? And by the way, now the 9 millimeter has evolved so much over the past 10 years that um, it penetrates almost as well as the 40 without the recoil. And I just think, back in the day, I get it. When 10 millimeter looked like it was going to disappear, everybody was jumping on that 40 caliber bandwagon. But now, if you were to buy one, I just think now buying a 40 caliber is stupid when you could just buy a 10 millimeter and shoot 40 out of it. But that's just me. A lot of people get butt hurt because, they like their 40s, and you say anything about the 40s, it's like you telling them that their mother wears army boots. And the worst thing is, people that own a 40 that keep saying, oh, it's the same thing. It's nothing like a 10 millimeter. Now, granted, when you buy 10 millimeter ammo off the shelf nowadays, it's really watered down and it's really not much more than 40 caliber. But if you reload your own, or you buy some buffalo bore and shoot that through a 10 millimeter, if you shot a 40 and then you shot a 10 millimeter with buffalo bore, you'll see it's nothing like that. 38 Super is it's an interesting cartridge. Um, it's very capable. It just I guess because it didn't take off, it's just too expensive. Um, 45 makes a Super too, and it's very expensive. That's my only issue with the 38 Super. Um, I know the 1911s, they made them in 38 Super. I think they still do. And it was pretty popular back then. Um, but the ammo's expensive. But I'm sure if you shoot competition, they probably reload their own ammo anyway. But for me, I'm really, a big fan of the 45 and the 10 millimeter. If I'm not carrying one, I'm carrying the other. Um, and like I said, my new Colt Delta Elite 10 millimeter is my new carry gun right now. And I don't care that it only holds 8 rounds, because when you shoot a 10 millimeter, you don't have to do that double tap shit that the 9 millimeter guys do. Um, and if you're that concerned, carry a spare mag. Holy crap, today went fast. We have 7 minutes left, guys, so get your comments in or your questions before the stream ends. Again, thanks to all the new people that joined today. A lot of new people. And I appreciate you doing this. And if you like what we do here, we do it every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern. And if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when our new videos are released and when our live stream starts. That's a sweet gun there, Trix. That Model 70, that was nice. I bought my Colt Government Competition Plus a year ago. And I love it, but, I bought it after CZ bought Colt. And I'm kind of glad I did, because, the last 10 years, Colt was in business. Their quality started going down the toilet. And then when CZ bought them, they brought the quality back up. So I bought the Colt Government Competition Plus. I bought the Colt Python Combat Elite. I bought the Colt Viper. And I just bought the Colt Delta Elite. And CZ just did a great job. I mean, they own Dan Wesson. CZ doesn't make any guns that are a piece of crap. So, hey, gun dogging. Hey, brother, glad you can make it. Yes, Duke, you did send me an email the other day with some pictures, and I believe I did respond to it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks. I know it's not, but it looks like an RCBS rock chucker. That reloading press. It looks like a single stage cast iron. So yeah, you'll have a lot of fun with that. And as I predicted, consumables are going up again. My wife and I went to Bass Pro over the weekend. And I remember a couple of months ago, I bought 1,000 Winchester primers for $49.99. That wasn't even on sale, right? And now they're $79.99 1,000. I predicted. I told you guys months ago, right, Duke? Months ago, I told you that by August or September, the powder and the primers are going to start going up, and they are. Yeah, that's. You know what, Tricks? To look for another barrel, I would look at Lone Wolf, and see if they have them. I bought a lot of barrels from them. So now I'm back in the same boat at, $79 1,000. I should probably still stock up, because another month or two, I'm going to be kicking myself when they go back up to $100 1,000. Hey, Mac, your mommy's calling you. Bye-bye. You can go back in the basement now. Not bad tonight, Duke. We haven't had that many liberals crawling out of the mommy and daddy's basements today. I guess they know that we're going to boot them out eventually. So, but anyway, I'm still flattered because, and all the things that these liberals could be doing, um, they take time out of their not so busy life to join my live stream. Yeah, no problem there, Trix. Glad I could offer you some suggestions. Med USA, thank you for joining. I hope you're well too, but you joined a little bit late. We got 2 minutes left. This stream ends at 9 o'clock Eastern. We do it every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. So you may want to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And this way you'll be notified when we have our next stream. And again, I want to thank our moderators. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Yeah, Duke, you got to get your ass down to Tennessee one day. And only about an hour from North Carolina. And we could hook up and go to Bud's or something. But anyway, special thanks to our moderators. We could not do this without you guys. We do get a lot of riffraff come in, and thanks to our moderators, we kick all the liberals back into their mommy and daddy's basements. Well, whatever you do, Duke, you're always welcome here. And thanks, Trick. Thanks to all you guys. I really appreciate this. I can't say enough how much I appreciate the support and loyalty from you guys. We just reached our 2 million viewers a couple days ago, and again, it's all because of you guys. That's why I do this. All right. Well, we will be doing this again Saturday and again Wednesday, etc. Every Wednesday evening at 8 Eastern, every Saturday 12 noon. Thanks for that, Duke. Yes, I am goated. All right, guys. This is 9 o'clock now, so we will end this stream, and we'll pick it back up again Saturday. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Have a blessed evening.